The night air felt unusually still, like the world was choosing silence over movement. Armand sat by the open window of his apartment, listening to the distant hum of the city and the occasional whistle of the wind brushing past old buildings. He wasn't thinking about anything extraordinary. In fact, he was trying not to think, especially after finding the photograph of his father earlier that day. It was taken in 1994, at a time when life felt slower, simpler, untouched by the pressure of the world. Looking at that picture, Armand felt a familiar ache, the kind that comes when a moment is gone forever, and you'd give anything to step back into it. That feeling sparked something he hadn't thought about seriously since he was a teenager: the idea of time travel. Not the Hollywood version with spinning machines and glowing portals, but the raw human longing to break through time's limit and revisit what was lost. He always heard people dismiss it as pure science fiction, something impossible, something childish. But tonight, he felt an odd pull toward the concept, not because he believed he could change the past, but because he wanted to understand why time felt so rigid. He picked up his old notebook filled with scribbles from his university days, theories, half-finished equations, pieces of lectures about relativity. As he flipped through it, he realized how much he had forgotten. He used to stay up all night just trying to make sense of Einstein's thought experiments, trains moving at light speed, clocks slowing down near gravitational fields, the strange idea that time wasn't universal. He sighed and closed the notebook. But the moment he did, the room suddenly felt different. A familiar ticking sound from the wall clock faded into softness. Even the air seemed heavier, thicker, like the room was holding its breath. Then a soft knock echoed in the room. Not on the door, but from the corner near the bookshelf. Armand turned quickly, heart pounding, but instead of danger, he saw an elderly man sitting calmly on the floor, as if resting his legs after a long walk. His posture was relaxed, his gaze gentle, and his presence strangely comforting. "You are thinking about time again," the man said with a small smile, his voice steady. "Most people let it pass without question, but you're wrestling with it." Armand felt a shiver of confusion. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The man raised a hand slowly, reassuring him. "Not here to harm you. I'm only here to explain something you've been trying to understand." Armand sat back down, cautiously. "Explain what?" "Time," the man answered simply. "You think time travel is just a sci-fi fantasy, but history says otherwise. Science says otherwise." Armand frowned. "What do you mean, history says otherwise?" The old man leaned back slightly. "Humans have questioned time for thousands of years. The ancient Greeks argued about whether time was an absolute force or just an illusion. In the 11th century, Persian philosopher Avicenna wrote about how time stretches depending on motion. In the 17th century, Isaac Newton described time as a constant river. But in 1905, Einstein shattered that idea forever. Armand listened carefully as the man spoke with the calm confidence of someone who had lived through every scientific revolution personally. Einstein showed that time doesn't flow the same for everyone. It bends, it slows, it reacts to speed and gravity. Clocks on towers don't tick at the same rate as clocks on the ground. It's not a theory, it's measured. Armand remembered hearing about this, but it never felt real until now. The man continued. In 1971, American researchers flew atomic clocks on airplanes around the world. When they compared them to clocks left on the ground, The difference was undeniable. The clocks on the airplanes had aged differently. Time literally passed at different speeds. Armand blinked. I remember that experiment. The Hafele-Keating experiment. The man nodded with satisfaction. Exactly. And astronauts aboard the International Space Station age a tiny bit slower than us because they're moving fast and floating away from Earth's gravity. When they come back to Earth, their bodies are microseconds younger than they should be. That's time travel forward. Armand felt an unexpected rush of excitement, the kind he used to feel when learning something that cracked open the world a bit more. But what about traveling to the past? The man smiled gently. That's where things get complicated. History is filled with strange stories. A man in 1950 found wearing clothes from the 19th century with items from the wrong era. A 1941 photo showing a man dressed in modern clothing. People claiming to vanish and reappear with no sense of how much time passed. None of these prove anything scientifically, but they do remind us that humans have always sensed time isn't as simple as it looks. Armand leaned forward. So is it possible or not? Let me tell you what physics says, the man said calmly. General relativity predicts wormholes, tunnels in the fabric of space-time. If they exist and could be stabilized, one end could move faster than the other, creating a time difference. That means walking through one end would take you into another time. Scientists like Kip Thorne took these ideas seriously, not as fiction, but as real mathematical solutions. So wormholes could be real? Maybe. But we've never created one, never found one, never stabilized one. The laws of physics don't forbid them, but nature isn't always easy to bend. And even if we built the time machine, it could only go back to the day the machine was created. You can't go back to ancient history using a device made today. That's why there are no time tourists visiting us. Armand nodded slowly, understanding for the first time why time travel wasn't dismissed by physicists, but also not considered practically possible. And then there's the grandfather paradox. If you travel back and change something, you risk destroying the cause that created the traveler. Many scientists think reality simply wouldn't allow such contradictions. Time protects itself. Armand looked down at the photo of his father again. So, even if time travel existed, I couldn't go back to see him. The old man's eyes softened. Not with a machine, but memory is its own form of time travel. Memory changes the present. It shapes the future. And the future version of you influences you just by imagining him. Armand looked at the man more closely. Something about him was familiar. His posture, the quiet patience, the way he spoke as if carrying decades of reflection. You talk like you've lived my life, Armand whispered. The man gave a small smile. Maybe I've lived something close to it. Armand's heart pounded as realization slowly crawled into his mind. The man wasn't a visitor from the past or some magical entity from the future. He was a representation, a possibility of who Armand could become in another timeline shaped by different choices. He existed not because time had been broken, but because Armand's mind had finally understood time's truth. The past cannot be changed, but it can be learned from. The future cannot be predicted, but it can be built. The old man slowly stood, his knees cracking softly. Time is not a straight line. It's a landscape. You move through it with every decision, every memory, every dream. Humans want machines and portals, but the real time travel happens quietly, in the brain, in the body, in the way gravity and speed stretch your life. As he turned to leave, the room felt lighter, like time had exhaled after holding its breath for too long. Before fading into the dimness, the man added one last thing. Time travel isn't a sci-fi idea. It's written into the universe, just not the way you expected. Armand stood in the silence left behind, feeling a strange mix of grief, hope, and clarity. He looked again at his father's picture, and for the first time, the ache in his chest softened into something gentler, something like understanding. He realized then that time wasn't his enemy. It was the structure that made life meaningful, that gave every moment its value. And as he walked to the window, watching the city lights flicker gently in the distance,